I moved 20 times in 14 years due to homelessness and mental illness. My longest stay is going on 3 years in my own apartment. Finally, Amma. How did you get homeless? My mom kicked me out at 16, and I was in the foster care system in a few group homes. I went a wall to visit family and they kicked me to the curb. Eater, they waited till I was 18, when they could legally do it. Why did they kick you out at 16? A lot of reasons. I dropped out of school, was struggling with undiagnosed mental illness. My mom was a religious fanatic, and I got pregnant at 16. She got a settlement check from an accident she was in, and wanted to travel. It was an easy solution, to be a ward of the state. Your mom sucks. How do you deal with change? When I change flats, it just affects me for weeks till I start feeling at home again. Acceptance and feigning indifference. Most of the changes happened, whether I wanted to or not. There were a lot of breakdowns, a lot of suicide attempts, a lot of stints in the hospital. I never felt like I had a place in the world, and my life was constantly shuffling, trying to figure out where I needed to be. But I never felt at home or at ease at any of these places. I expect a change at every corner. Yeah, no, I'm pretty fucked up by it. Naturally, it took me about 2 years here for me to stop expecting someone to knock on my door and uproot my new life. This is the first time I feel at home. It was hard to answer this question. I hope I did somewhat. I'm so happy that you are settled now and have security. I went through something similar and moved 31 times in 7 years. I grew up with a major disability, and when I got married I married a doctor. He left me after 5 years. My family did not want to help. I had no money for an attorney, was told I wasn't married long enough for alimony, and lost custody of my children. I lived an unsettled and poverty-stricken life until a good friend married me, so I would be okay. We love each other, have a son, and are approaching 10 years of marriage. We are poor, but I have a better life and have lived in the same apartment for 6 years. I'm so proud of that. Congrats on your marriage and stability. It's a huge feat, and we should always be proud of that. I wish you many more years of happiness, stability, and a great marriage. Cheers. Thank you. It means a lot to read this. Are you confident that you will be able to keep that apartment for long? I am. I'm now getting therapy and will soon be on medication. I live in public housing now, so as long as I can give the city some kind of money I'll be able to stay. May I ask, are you an American? Yep. On the rough days, what do you do to cope? Right. Video games and listening to music. Basically check out and hope things gets better. I'm in therapy now, so hoping that will help. Therapy made some leaps and bounds for me. Works for some, not for others. Mental health system is trash, so I'll take what I can get. That's so great. What's your favorite thing about staying in the same place for 3 years? I moved 30 times between the ages of 18 and 29. Every time I started packing again, my dog would look at me like, seriously? This again? I was a nomad, afraid of staying in one place for long. Now that I'm going on 8 years in the same place, I find stability feels so much better, and my favorite thing is having an address stamp. Being able to decorate. I love making something feel like my own. I haven't gotten to that just yet cause basics are fucking expensive, but I made sketches of how I want everything to look. I'm so excited. Decorating is nice. I enjoyed getting furniture for the first time after not having owned more than what would fit in my car for 11 years. I'm not sure what type of mental illness you have, but I had major depression and severe anxiety, and I take what's called a microdose of mushrooms every few days. It's not enough to actually trip, but helps a lot. Now the question. Would you be willing to try psychedelic mushrooms under the supervision of a doctor if it would help your mental illness? I'm in no way suggesting you take them, because with mental illness it can be dangerous without a doctor to supervise. Oh yeah, congratulations, and your mom does suck as posted above. I would drink battery acid if it worked. Lol. I totally understand. Mental illness is a disaster. There was days I couldn't or wouldn't leave the house. Didn't care about anything or anyone. I'm so glad you're doing better, and seriously ask your psychiatrist about microdosing. He may can get you into the studies going on at Johns Hopkins or something similar. I was truly amazed. I'll look into this. Thank you. You bet. And really you should be proud. I'm happy for you. What's the hardest when living without a home? Not giving up. I had a few suicide attempts when I couldn't take it anymore. I didn't feel like I had a place in society and all I did was make everyone else's life harder. Somebody told me a while back their brother gave them the best advice ever and said no matter what you do always make sure you pay the rent/mortgage. Keeping a roof over your head is #1. Losing electricity or eating skimp meals you can deal with for a bit till you get it back together, but not having a place to live will just spiral the rest of your life out of control as well. As a person who is similar to you and moved all over so many times, I know how hard it is to get that stability to be able to work on the rest of your life. Being homeless or even moving all the time for whatever reason really does hinder and have a negative effect on everything else and makes it impossible to work your way back up. So anyway, congrats, and now that you have it, do whatever you can to keep it. Close bracket. Yes, exactly. Another editor asked about this, whether housing first or therapy and job search first was best. Definitely housing. You can't improve when your brain is on survive mode. I know this is super dark, but if I somehow lost this place and was back on the street, I don't think I could survive the streets again. But let me not say that, cause life has a way of always trying to prove you wrong. Haha, I think you'll be fine. I think that seeing as you know what it's like to not have the life you currently do and what you just said, you don't take it for granted and you know you would never want to go back to that and will do whatever you can to keep it for you and your kid or kids. The good thing with housing/homelessness is, even though it's a hard cycle to break and get out of, once you finally do, it's easy to keep. That's awesome. Congrats. Were you ever ashamed or embarrassed to get help for your mental illness? I know some people that are, is why I ask. Yeah. Mostly because people think I'm just making excuses for things that weren't easy for me, but easy for others. I'm still working on not over-explaining myself as if I'm guilty for something. Makes sense. Do you have more positive outlook on the mental illness now that you're getting treatment? Yes. I know it's not going to fix everything, but any improvement is welcomed and needed. Congratulations. Have your mental issues decreased as a result of having a home for 3 continuous years? It's been good. I've been able to breathe and really work on myself without having to worry about where I'm gonna end up. How are you doing today? What are some of your favorite hobbies? Writing, playing video games, and listening to music. I'm doing good. I just booked my first appointment with a psychiatrist for Monday and am excited to start medication. As someone who got the privilege of growing up in the upper middle class, I can tell you personally, and from experience of being around other well-off people, that you have more character than anyone who had it easy. You'll learn as things get easier and you have less daily struggles, assuming you stay on that upward path. I hope you do. That the people who didn't have to work for it are really lame and have little to no perspective of working hard for success. I would say use that to your advantage in any way you can. Thanks for that. Cheers. I work with people who have been homeless for years and help them secure housing and get connected to resources like mental health counselors and such. Recently, the shift has focused on getting them housing first and then focusing on the other things. It seems to be way more effective than trying to get them into counseling and a job coach first. What do you feel was most helpful in obtaining stability? Definitely getting that permanent place to stay. You can't focus on healing and coping skills when you're on survive mode. People being able to nest in their own homes opens them up to receive the help they need. And it's a huge milestone that can jumpstart motivation for change. I don't have a job yet, but that's what I'm working towards. Right now I'm trying to get the skills I need to function day to day, and once that happens I'll be looking for work. But I'm actually happy and hopeful. No job fair or therapist gave me that in all those years. Having a home did. Now I'm just working to keep it. That's just my opinion and my own experience. Thanks for answering. What you said makes a lot of sense. Congrats. Are you employed? If so, what job do you have? I'm not employed. I'm hoping therapy and medication will help me get and keep a job. Oh okay then, thanks. Sorry for the very late response. When did you feel comfortable enough to hang stuff on your walls? I moved so much that for a while I stopped bothering. Close bracket. It took me about 2 years. Lol. I lost most of my stuff moving so much all I really had was clothes when I moved into my apartment. I had to get all my important documents like birth certificates and social security cards all over again because a shelter stole my stuff. So that was fun. Congratulations. I love hearing stories like this. Thank you. When you say that you move 20 times, do you mean actual homes or like different underpasses every 2 months? I've only counted actual facilities / residences. Being on the street was only for a few days here and there. No question. Just wanted to tell you you're loved. D keep kicking life's ass and being the amazing person you are. 3. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Are you afraid of spiders? Nope. I save spiders from the tub every couple of nights. Was really heartbroken when one fell in while I had the water on. They're cool in my book. I respect you as a fellow in a sense because I've personally moved around and I know how that's like. Not to your degree, but as I start my journey to be an electrician and to consider a trade school, I do ask, how long did it take for you to settle? I worry about that for my case, but did you ever take a medication to assist such drastic, in some cases probably sudden changes in your life? No, I haven't been on medication since foster care. I got lucky to meet someone who grounded me. I was just a ball of anger and recklessness. It took years for things to become better. Finding good support is huge and sadly hard to come by. Good luck. Ouch man, I feel you. Lived in 16 different places my 8th grade year. Congrats. Thank you. Yeah, it's tough. Stay safe. I've been in your shoes, so there's not a lot of I can ask that I don't already know the answer to. I'll just wish you all the best and offer a friendly ear if you need to vent. Thank you. Dude, that's epic. Thanks. I can kind of understand. My stepfather had us moving constantly, running from bill collector and bad people who he conned. When I was young it was kind of an adventure, but I was always leaving friends. The older you get the harder it is to make friends, until you have none. Why bother? You're just going to move again. I'm socially awkward and suffer social anxiety, having spent a lot of time by myself. I read a lot of books, and let's just say the topic range was wide and varied. I'm okay with myself. It's funny when I try to talk to someone. I sound like a teenager talking to their crush, stuttering and blurting out weird stuff. I can laugh at myself. Later, the year after I got married, we bought our house and have been here 37 years. My kids grew up here. It's funny because my daughter lives in the house behind me and my son lives down the street. Talk about total opposite paths. I'm so happy for you. There's something to be said for stability. No more guessing what the day will bring. You can now get down to the job of living your life. Congratulations. Exactly this. I want that for myself and for my kids. Thank you for sharing, and congrats yourself. Did you ever seek treatment? If so, when did you decide to seek it? My brother has mental illness and refuses treatment. It's been touch and go throughout my life. It took me having a place to call home to finally start seeking help. It's hard to find support, even when you're looking for it. I've met a lot of scumbag therapist and psychiatrist. The system sucks and made it so much harder to seek the services I needed. Unfortunately, it's gonna be up to him to decide when it's the right time, and up to the person who's helping to actually help. You can maybe vet some therapist so he's not exposed to so many disappointments. Usually asking a few questions about their experience and listening carefully to how they talk will give you the insight on whether they are the right person. But talk to your brother and see what he needs. If he doesn't believe there's a problem, then I don't know. I was always aware that I was fucked up and needed help. I hope I answered your question. Good luck. Thanks for your reply. Yeah. He doesn't think anything is wrong and is completely delusional. Hope we can get him treatment T before something terrible happens to him or someone else. How did you make it being homeless? I always wondered a what if scenario of me being homeless and how I would make it. Well, that all depends on the state you're in. If you're in America, I was homeless in both New York City and Rhode Island. The programs can be different. I experienced homelessness with a child, so I mostly slept indoors. It also depends on the severity, if any, of your mental illness is drug addictions. I was able to keep curfew most times and jump through whatever hoops they threw at me. A lot of people can't, and they don't treat you like a person who's fallen on hard times. They treat you like you're a criminal and you're just a waste of resources. So a lot of these steps to get help are often setups for you to fail and start all over again. There were a good few times when a clerical error forced me to beg for change so me and my child could eat ramen and chicken thighs for months. I at one point thought I was getting the hang of it. I started a new job at the evil American Apparel clothing store and started going to school to be a medical assistant. One night after a long day I forgot to sign in. They kicked me out and had to quit my job and school to start over with intake. You really feel less than human. It's tough and I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy, honestly. If you're out on the streets though, I slept mostly on the trains or where there was people passing by to avoid getting hurt. I'm a woman, so it gets pretty sketch. I got sexually assaulted before while pushing my daughter in her stroller. After that I left her with any family member who would take her for the night. Luckily I wasn't on the streets too long or frequent. What happened to your mom after all this? She bought a few houses in Dominican Republic. She's living well. She just came to visit, not me, my sisters, and is actually leaving tomorrow to go back to drive. We are not close. Did the mental health issues come from the homelessness? How did it affect your ability to find a stable place to live? A lot of the mental illness came from sexual abuse before the homelessness. Although I do have ADHD, which is a neurological disorder I was born with, it made it nearly impossible to form meaningful relationships with anyone. It also made it feel impossible to keep up with all the appointments they gave me. I struggled with self-harm and reckless behavior, which kept me getting kicked out of shelter after shelter. I couldn't hold down a job for the life of me, and it was getting harder to do interviews without being humiliated. I couldn't form sentences because I was so anxious and would storm out apologizing for wasting anyone's time. It sucked. Lol. What kind of mental illness do you have? I have ADHD, and I know that's not an illness, but the way I act sometimes makes me think it is. I have ADHD, like you said, not an illness, but it definitely feels like one. Lol. I have major depressive disorder, borderline, PTSD, and general anxiety. I'm getting re-evaluated because I think I have OCD as well now. I've been struggling with obsessive thinking, and there's things that have developed that I'm really struggling with that makes me think maybe it's OCD. Man, that's a lot. I don't think I've ever had a mental evaluation before. I hope you get the help you need. Thank you. You're welcome.